Exam time, baby. Gonna take my exam now. No putting the phone on top of the car. What happened last time? Ooh. I should bring my snorkel down here. I think I'm bringing my face mask down. I just need to go home this weekend and grab it. And then I can mount you on my face, well, on the mask anyways, and take you for a swim around. You can see what the bottom looks like. It feels so nice to get outside. I've been cooped up since I woke up at 5:30 this morning, which is later than normal because my exam's at night, so it starts at 5. So I wanted to see if I could sleep in, get as much rest as I could, and really let my brain relax so that it wouldn't get overwhelmed today. Cause I don't know if you've ever done any like real high level thinking, engineering type stuff and mathematics analysis, but after you do it, you quickly realize your brain is a muscle and it does fatigue. You do need to rest between sets and stuff, and between chapters and equations in the textbook, or else you're just gonna slow your brain down, and it's like trying to hold water in a strainer. You're thinking of something and you're looking at an equation and you're like, man, how do I get from here to there? I mean, the answer is dead obvious. It'll be like divide by the area or something, but like you're just trying to hold so much in your head at once, and you've been using your brain all day that you just can't see it for the life of you. Which is why I spread out my study session over the past 4 days instead of trying to cram it all in one. Because cramming everything down into 1 day of studying was my old solution. And I used to like pop some Bangs or Monster Ultras and just try to study for hours and cram everything in and do it for like a full day, maybe pull an all-nighter, and then it comes time to take the exam and your brain is so fatigued, man. You can't make any connections, you can't do any critical thinking. You're just solely trying to rely on the cheat sheet that you made in order to use during that time. And I mean, that was my strategy freshman year. It didn't work. I mean, it worked well. I had a 4.0, but I mean, stress-wise and stuff, it's a horrible, horrible plan. I would basically make a cheat sheet that had everything on it, every equation you need, and write it all down, and then I would take that to the exam with me. And I mean, if we weren't allowed a cheat sheet, then I would type it all up and save it under the documents on my calculator. But because all professors allow calculators, not all of them allow cheat sheets. But some of them don't realize more modern calculators, such as the TI and Spire, is literally a freaking computer, and you can get high definition images. Well, not high def, I mean probably like 480p or something images on it, but that's more than enough to upload tables, charts, lecture slides. So I mean, heck, you can put Python programs on there, but I would put lecture slides on there. And I mean, I found the calculator because I was looking for what has the So I found the calculator because I was looking for what had the best resolution. Because I had one professor who told us at the start of the year that we weren't allowed a cheat sheet, but he was gonna give us all the exam questions were going to be from the previous homeworks and quizzes, but he was going to change the numbers for them. So I just wrote down, made a slide for each question, wrote down how to solve it in variable form for each one, and then I uploaded the slides to the calculator. And then exam time comes, I would just look at the wording of each question, and because all the prompts are the same, so it says like square with a square with this is inside of something else, and I mean, the exam was yeah, so I just wrote down all the equations in variable form, went through, looked, matched the text of the question to the text of the one on the exam, and then use that to answer the question for me. So that I wouldn't have to spend time studying. But the irony of the whole thing is I probably spent the same amount of time building the slides, making them into PNGs, and then uploading them onto the calculator as I would have if I just studied the material. And I mean, that's really the irony of when you try to get away with not necessarily cheating, but I mean when you try to take the easy way out and just make a giant cheat sheet without, like, with everything, so that you don't actually have to understand any of the individual concepts, you don't actually do the practice equations out and everything. Not only do you not wind up learning the material, you wind up spending just as much time, and then next year when your class uses the same exact concepts but now builds upon them, you have to learn all of that plus do it in a shorter period of time. So you don't actually wind up getting away with anything, and that's what I learned. So I stopped trying to make those mega cheat sheets, and I started actually paying attention in class and stopped cramming for exams. And you're gonna be thinking, well, didn't you just say you were cramming for this one? It's not. This one isn't the unhealthy cramming that I was doing earlier, where I was trying to write down the equations for everything. This was, I rewatched the lectures, looked over my notes. We're allowed a one-page cheat sheet for the exam, so I made a cheat sheet and then put down And then I made sure that I could use that cheat sheet, and I went through and I solved all the previous homeworks. But I fully understand the concepts that are talked about in the class. What I'm referring to is earlier, I used to try to take the easy way out and not learn the concepts by just writing down the equations for everything. And it worked in high school an awful lot. I could just memorize all the equations because there really weren't that many. And then you're like, oh, if I see this variable, and this variable, then it must be this equation. But then you come into like college and you have like maybe 13 to 20 different equations, and all of the variables can be, you can solve an equation for a single variable and then plug that variable into any one of the other 20 equations to create a new equation in order to solve for something based on the unknowns given to you. And when you have something like that, if you try to learn all of the equations themselves without knowing the concepts, it would be hundreds of ones, because each case has a slightly different equation based off of the assumptions. So I'm like, it's really just easier to understand the concepts and learn the base equation, and then be able to derive the equation that you're actually going to use on the exam from those base equations. Because not only do you wind up with a better and deeper understanding of the concept as a whole, but it's just less work, man. And after all, I'm paying like $25 something to $30,000 a year for this education, and trying to look for clever ways to save time in order to not learn is not what I'm paying for. So that was something I had to address freshman year. And the other thing I learned is actually understanding and playing with the concepts not only makes the class less stressful, it actually makes it more enjoyable, because you're able to think about the concepts in your everyday life and look at stuff and you're able to play around with the numbers and look at something and be like, oh, I thought my idea there was wrong. I can now use this knowledge that I learned, and I can analyze the situation in an idealized state to semi-predict how it should behave. And it's very interesting, which is why I like engineering. But that's my little ramble before I have to take my quiz. So, day 32, signing out.